This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill.
I'm so much more comfortable collecting real estate than I am collecting other stuff.
This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill. We interviewed Chad Kastel this morning. He is an experienced day trader, poker player. He's currently writing a book, and of course, he's also a real estate investor. Bill, what did you take away from this one?
Chad is a unique mind. He thinks of things his own way very effectively. It's very unique, and I love talking to him. Every time I talk to him, I get nuggets of information.
Yeah, he mentioned becoming a full-time poker player at the age of 21, and you can tell he analyzes everything from his business life to his personal life with that poker lens, whether it's the value of time or not being bogged down by taking a loss and moving on to that next hand.
You read my mind. It's that focusing every day, not only every day, every hour of the day, he is focusing on the value of his time.
Yeah, there's a lot of good takeaways from this, but what really excites me about this conversation and Chad in general is the fact that he's just getting started in real estate. I mean, he has a successful career in other areas that's very impressive, but as far as real estate investing, there's no limit as where he's going to go.
No, absolutely. We'll be in touch with Chad for sure.
Chad Kastel, thank you for being here this morning. Real estate investor, day trader, poker player, currently writing a book. A lot to unpack here. Tell us more about yourself. Tell us how you got into real estate.
You covered it a little bit with that brief introduction. I started day trading 10 years ago. Day trading is inconsistent. I make money every year, but don't know, what I'm going to make. So I wanted another income stream. That's when poker started, and I got into real estate. And I always wanted to get into real estate investing. I always loved the idea of passive income. I technically got into it in 2016 when I bought a Airbnb. It was a two-structure property, two-bedroom house, one-bedroom studio. My wife and I lived in the studio and rented out the house on Airbnb. We were house hacking, but I had no idea it was house hacking. And then later that year, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Oh no, I'm sorry. Later that year, I just Googled like how do you get into real estate investing, which got me onto Bigger Pockets. And then Bigger Pockets kept saying at the end of every episode, hey, what are your favorite books to read? And as soon as like two guests would say, maybe three guests would say the same book, I would just buy it. So of course I got to Rich Dad Poor Dad, a number of other books, and that just kind of was the beginning of the cycle for me. Once I started obtaining knowledge, I couldn't stop.
Awesome. Yeah. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think we hear that almost on every episode. And no, it's a super great book. Tell us about your breakthrough after that first Airbnb, that first multifamily investment.
What do you mean by breakthrough? Just like what happened, the whole experience?
Yeah, after that Airbnb, then you learned a little bit more about real estate. What was that next purchase, or the first two purchases? What do they look like?
Okay, so then I bought this book called How to Invest, Out of State Investing by David Green. So I got my real estate license in Florida with the idea that I would buy properties in Florida. But I liked the BRRRR method and I liked cash flow because, to pair with trading, I wanted a more consistent cash flow model. Well, even as far back as 2018, there weren't great cash flows. I mean, you'd buy a $500,000 property and you'd maybe cash flow a couple $100 a month. I just had no interest. And a friend of mine was like, oh, I invest in the Binghamton area, and he told me to invest. So I bought that book, really followed it step by step with how to invest out of state, and then bought not a duplex, a mixed use single family home and commercial space in Johnson City. And that also came with a lot of challenges.
Shout out to David Green. I haven't read that book yet, but it's definitely on my list. He does a great job over there at BP. So at this point, you have a couple properties under your belt. You said you initially wanted to get into real estate investing, mostly for the passive income. Are you seeing at this point that it's not entirely passive, or are you having enough employees, partners, systems in place that it is passive?
All right, great. This is a great question. So the property I bought in Johnson City, what I realized after a couple years is that a lot of the cities that investors tell you, like, oh, you can get a good GC, you can get a good property manager. It was very difficult in Johnson City. This is like a very low end tertiary or quad market, right? Like people aren't actively moving to Johnson City. So I really had trouble finding talent. I had to fire several property managers. I had to fire a GC, like fire real estate agents. I just wasn't getting quality workers. Like if you tell me you're going to do something, it better get done. Like, and I want a message if it's not, I don't want to have to chase you down. So I had to reinvent my model. And what I did was, through that initial friend who connected me to Binghamton, he introduced me to who is now my partner, Matt. And slowly, Matt and I developed a relationship. And the relationship started as him just secret shopping my current property manager at the time. This was in, like February of 2020. It grew and grew, and then I decided to partner with Matt. So what I do with Matt is I fund the projects. I am very active in helping, but generally he does all the active operations. And after I receive my principal back in any individual deal, Matt's a 40% owner in the property and the cash flow. So to answer your question, it's not as much active work. I subbed out the active work for my partner. In an ideal world, I wouldn't give away equity, right? I would have found vendors to, fill in the gaps and paid them. But because I couldn't find that talent, I felt the only way was that I needed to find someone that cared. And who's going to care as much about the property as someone who owns 40% of it? I mean, that's his property. So he cares about the tenants that we're putting in there and the banks that we're using and the, people he hires to rehab the place. It matters to him.
So there lies those original challenges. You're doing it by yourself, dealing with property managers, firing general contractors. So was that I don't want to say aha moment, but that was the trial and tribulation to say, okay, I need someone like Matt to fill that gap. He solves a lot of those challenges. So now you're able to continue building your career a little bit more fluently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say there was one aha moment. I don't want to credit myself. I didn't meet Matt with this plan. It's just that the relationship developed, and then there was an aha moment. Like, wait, what if I make Matt a partner? How does my look there? Like, coming into 2020, I had plans to scale an Airbnb business, and then COVID hit, and I had to pivot very quickly. So I had an Airbnb in South Florida with plans to scale that up because that's how you get better cash flow. And I had this property in Johnson City, but Airbnb changed the regulations. The government down here changed their laws. It really made it difficult. And I was kind of panicking and I sold the Airbnb and I completely got out of that business. So now I'm in this kind of transitional phase. I got this place up in Johnson City. I don't have good vendors. I know that market can work if I can get the systems in place, I can get trustworthy people. And at this point, the relationship's developing with Matt. So somewhere around, I met him in February, and somewhere around April, May, June, the conversations began about a partnership. And then I flew up in July and we looked at a property. We looked at a bunch of properties.
Well, what I like about that story is the fact that you didn't give up. A lot of people get frustrated and they don't know where to turn. They say this isn't for me. I can't deal with this. None of the vendors are taking my property seriously. They don't care about it. Instead, you picked up the phone. You're having conversations with other people that are like minded in the industry, and you figure it out. Now you're at this point, you have a partner up north. I believe you're still in South Florida. Are you still looking to invest at a distance in New York? Do you want to continue with that Airbnb model now that we're towards the end of the pandemic? What are you looking towards now?
No, I'm completely out of Airbnbs. So we flipped to Section 8, kind of doing the opposite. We are scaling up. Last year, we started in 2021 in January. We bought a duplex, a triplex, a 6 unit, a 5 unit, a 13 unit, a 10 unit, and a mixed use 2 unit. So we got about 2 million in under management. after everything refinances, that's like we're still waiting on some refinances, but that's about where it'll be. This year we'd like to double that. I don't know if we're trying to double the unit count, and we have like I think we have about 40 units together. I don't know if we want to get to 80 units or just 4 million in assets this year, but we're definitely looking for that in 2022. We're finishing up a project that we bought last year. We just bought we got under contract a portfolio in December, and that's going to kind of keep us busy through this year. And then we're hoping to pick up another 20 unit. As far as investing in other markets, so my goal was to pair enough cash flow with trading, right? So that I can slowly move away my active trading. You know, like maybe I'm not trading 5 days a week, maybe I'm trading 4 and 3 days a week. As I move that way, it means that my portfolio of C-class assets is cash flowing nicely, right? So I want to pair that with now the appreciation in a Florida market and in Texas and in North Carolina, something like that. So that is also another reason to take this Jake and Gino courses. I want to learn about syndicating. I want to learn about systems. I want to learn how to make a presentation. I know I can raise money and I know I can go find deals, but the whole process of raising money from investors from A to Z, I don't have. So I wanted, I wanted to skip the line. I didn't want to go watch podcasts to learn how to syndicate. I wanted like a very straight line course.
Oh, that's awesome. So here you are investing in, let's see, 6 different assets over a short period of time with a new partner. Welcome to New York. So yes, the cash flow can be nice dealing with C-class assets, but me and Steven talk about this all the time. We certainly like to focus on solutions because there's always challenges along the way. Even when things are going well, there's day-to-day challenges, weekly challenges, unique challenges that we're dealing with right now. Are you seeing those New York challenges that are highlighted, whether it be an eviction moratorium that supposedly has ended but really hasn't, or any other challenges in this New York market?
We faced, I would say, pre-challenges. So last year we were having construction in a lot of properties. Like we were doing full rehab. So for the most of last year, I only had 5 tenants, and one tenant went to jail. He had his girlfriend. He went to jail like a month after he signed his lease. He had his girlfriend. One tenant was like a dream tenant, a single mother, teacher, with one son. She like got COVID and then got injured, so she stopped paying. And then another tenant like didn't pay for a few months. So out of the 5 tenants we had 3 tenants either not paying or like paying partial, and we couldn't evict them. So luckily, we got a lot of that money back through the ERAP program, which is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. But that was work. Like my partner had to go on the phone with them, the tenants, to walk them through it because the tenant's never going to do it. So we didn't have to evict anybody. I did have another tenant that stopped paying. I convinced her to leave without having to evict her. And I sent her a video on evictions and what that does to her life. And I was like, I explained to her, it's bad for me, it's bad for you. And I said, it's like, you still have to pay me your rent, but I was like, if you leave by this date, you can pay me $25 a month forever. And I was perfectly willing to give her cash for keys, but I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with, let's get you out and you still pay me. And she agreed and she left. So now we've changed our leases. One thing we've done is we've gone to month-to-month leases, no matter what. I don't want to sign people for more than a month because if I have to ask them to leave, then I don't want to have to go through if the eviction, it won't be for non-payment. The second is we've added a rent tracker piece to the lease where the tenants, in order to get the keys, they have to sign up for this ability for us to track their rent and get reported to the credit bureaus, because I need them to have like sweat in the game. They have to know if they don't pay me and they don't pay me on time, when they go to move, the next landlord's going to see, hey, you're not paying your landlord. So that's part of the project. I think those are the two major things. Oh, and if they do miss a payment, they have to, within 3 days, they have to sign up for an ERAP or any other rental program. So what I'm trying to do is add clauses in the lease that simultaneously help me and my partner in case we need to evict them, and help them or us get payments some sort down the road. So we just want to be able to have the option to evict them for nothing to do with paying rent.
That's a big problem right now. Bill briefly mentioned how the eviction moratorium in New York really isn't over. For anyone listening who isn't in New York or doesn't invest in New York, you still can't evict for non-payment up here, even though the government pretends like there is no eviction moratorium. So the only option for the landlord instead is to evict for a holdover tenant, which is why every lease up here should be month to month right now. There's a lot of things that you're learning as you go, like most entrepreneurs do. You kind of build the plane as you're flying. What would you tell yourself when you first got started? When you first really got that real estate investing bug, you started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. Is there one or two pieces of advice that you give yourself?
Yeah, I mean, myself would just have be more organized in the beginning. I should have had things like Google Chart. Not what's the Google where you you hold the place online. Anyway, just have things more organized. It's like I end up chasing my emails to find things, and then I have to ask people to resend me things. And now I'm to the point where like I'm starting to have virtual assistants, and that's making my life easier. But it wasn't. I mean, if you have to spend 20 minutes searching for something, you just wasted 20 minutes. I spent a lot of time like learning about something, whatever, and then it just wasn't in an organized
So
fashion,
are you using
which
a
is
cloud-based storage system now instead of searching
yes,
for?
yeah.
Okay.
Google
So
Drive. I don't know why I couldn't think of that
Google
word.
Drive
Yeah,
and VA have been your two
yeah.
solutions to store it, to organizing.
Well, the Google Drive has been a big solution. Not just me and my partner. We just have a shared drive for everything, so everything now goes in the drive. The virtual assistants are just social media now. I hired two. They're each working 12 hours a week, and then I'll build them up, and hopefully they'll each be working 30 by the end of next year, I'd say. I hired two so that if I need to let one go, I don't have to begin the training process over as well.
No, that's an area that we can certainly compare notes with Chad. We're running a few things parallel with getting those systems set up. The VA, as he just mentioned, he's got two, Stephen, where he's basically saying, okay, which one ends up better?
Yeah.
And he can make a cut if he needs to do that. If one is performing much better than the other. We're having good luck with our VA. It's been 3-4 weeks, but we're starting to see the results that we're trying to achieve there. I know you're in that Binghamton market, and you did make mention that after you reach a certain amount of cash flow or a certain amount of assets, and then you'll be able to focus on a different market, southeastern market potentially that is a little bit of a higher caliber asset. What do you think I don't want to say your unit count will be in New York, or your assets under management would be, but what's your point to where you're looking to make that transition and focus on other areas?
So whatever I think my reasonable cash flow is, like where I think my vacancy point is, when I get to 70% of that, and that number is 50,000 a month, then I can quit trading. I may not, but I can, and that's a really big like mindset shift for anybody. And when I get to that point, then I can decide like, all right, I have more time and more like liquid money to invest in these more long-term projects. So
So what,
go ahead.
what's that looking like right now, knowing that I have some money in the market. That's not my cup of tea at all. It's just with
Yeah.
a financial advisor. So here we are at war. So I flick it across my phone and be like, okay, what'd the market do yesterday? And know that you're still day trading and you've done that very successfully. How much more time and how much more mental energy are you putting in based on where we are over the last week or two?
Are you saying mental energy into trading or into real estate?
Yeah, in the trading, based on the volatility being at war, interest rates are going to be going up, inflation is through the roof. Is day trading that much more challenging right now? Over the last month or two.
Um, so comparatively, so general, I like volatility. So these are general things that are good for me. The last month or two, compared to the last 2 years, has been challenging. But compared to like my 10 years in the business, it's still pretty good. It's still like a well above average month or two. So trading is the way I trade is very similar to flipping houses. And it's just, in the way that you're flipping houses, you're adjusting the market cycles, you're adjusting materials based on like your client, your client needs. Trading is, it's a lot of quick thinking. It's a lot of just adjusting based on what the market's giving you. You can't force steel appliances into a C-class neighborhood. You're just never going to get your value back. And that's what day trading is. It's just not forcing things where it doesn't belong. Sometimes you have to be able to walk away and say, you walk away from the deal. I walk away from the deals every day. They look like they're good deals, and but they're not. And that's really like the nature of my job.
I'm interested in hearing more about the origin of you getting into day trading and playing poker at a high level. Tell us more about that.
So I'm 36. I can't remember. I must have been 19 or 20. I don't know if you remember, but Chris Moneymaker won the World
Oh
Series
yeah.
of poker. So everyone my age was just playing poker. I grew up 10 minutes outside of Atlantic City. So my buddy, like when we were 21, he started playing poker and he started making good money. And he was playing the lowest level no limit game. It was called 1-3 no limit or 1-2 no limit. It was a $300 buy-in game. And he was probably making, 40 or $50 an hour as a 21-year-old. So he taught me like, hey, this is how you play, whatever. I went behind him in a casino, watched him, and then I started playing. And back then I knew nothing, zero. I didn't do any studying. I did, and I was making a living. At 21 I was making somewhere between 50 and 75 an hour. I only did that for a year and a half, then quit. I just didn't want to be in a casino. Flash forward 5 years later, that same friend had gotten this job day trading. A kid we grew up with, his dad was looking for young poker or video game players. He needed people that can make fast decisions with no emotions. And so he brought him in, and then a few years later, they brought me in. So the trading was definitely like a right place at the right time. Um, I was working in a casino as a dealer. I had a really good schedule. I just quit it for the trading, no guarantees. I knew that trading, like working in a casino, working for a corporation, I knew my ceiling was capped. I knew with trading, my ceiling was completely uncapped. I knew the potential to change my life. So a little bit of luck. Once I got that position, like I didn't do anything. Like I was razor focused on trading. I was like trading, and I also taught tennis, and I was like just trying to work as much as I can to accumulate as much capital. I had not read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I knew enough to know that like every dollar that I didn't spend somewhere could be invested at some point in the future. And that was like my whole goal at that point in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. I forgot about the coaching tennis. It's another cool dynamic. I like that. And going back into the conversation, I know you mentioned that once you do decide to scale and that opportunity presents itself, you said that you'll have no problem raising money. And in our world, it's okay finding the great big deal and finding the money for that great big deal. What is your certainty on raising all that money? Is it from your coaching tennis people at a country club, or people in the day trading business? Where's that certainty come from?
Um, so it's a combination of things. I forgot to finish the poker story. Um, a few years later, I was in Florida. I had injured myself. I couldn't play tennis. I couldn't teach tennis. So I started playing poker again, started over, started making very good money. We realized that If you go into a casino, you have to play with other you have to play with professional players. So instead of doing that, we decided to run our own game. I don't know if you've ever seen Molly's game. So, but we did that, but except we did it legally. So where Molly made a mistake was she would take a rake, and we would just partner with casinos, let the casino run the game, but make the game private so that we can invite who we wanted. So being in that world, I was around a lot of wealthy people, and I think a lot of those people would invest, but it's a very small circle. So I've not tapped into that yet because I knew if I made a mistake, a calculation mistake, an accounting mistake, a communication mistake, I might lose access to that entire network. So I said, not until I'm perfect. In addition, just I'm sure you've experienced this, Bill. I don't know if you've experienced this, Stephen, but like trading is going well, right? Real estate's starting to go well. Even conversations with my dentist, it's like my dentist is starting to ask about like how can I invest. And from my experience trading, I tell people I'm a day trader. They ask me if they can invest. I say no. They don't even know if I'm good yet. But just the fact that I said no, they now will ask me every single time I see them. So the combination of those things, like the combination of my success going in certain directions, I'm very confident that I can raise money.
It's funny you said that because I had a conversation about my dentist investing on Monday when I went to the office. But
Yeah.
first, I want to say you forgot to tell us the end of your poker story. I hope your poker story is still going. Um, do you plan on playing any big
Well,
tournaments in the future? I like to play myself, so that's why I'm curious.
so I ran cash games, which it's completely different than tournaments. It's like analyzing a property for
Yep.
flips versus like a storage unit. It's like, yeah, it's real estate, but they're different skill sets,
Were
right?
you hosting like Facebook
So
groups to get those people into those events?
no, no. It was it was more like a family thing. It's like we just had a list of hundreds of people. We're in South Florida, so when someone comes down to South Florida, they said, "Oh, where's a big private game?" Like we would get a referral or a text. If you're in a casino, either I might be in a casino. I've been in casinos. I've met people. People we know have met people. They introduce them to us. It has become its own self-advertising thing. The games are still so. I did that from 2017 to 2021. So for 4 years, during this whole real estate adventure, I was still playing poker like full time. I would work 9:30 to 4, and then playing these games from 6 to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then wake up the next day and do it all over again. So I had a daughter in 2019, and then I just had another daughter in 2021. When that second daughter came, I can't do the 90-hour weeks anymore, so I scaled back poker. It came at a good time. In 2017, 2018, poker was in a different time block. Like people were still behind the times. Now in 2021, I know even my like average player in my game is studying and they've gotten better at poker. I didn't get better. I didn't study. All my efforts went into real estate. So all of a sudden my winnings started to tail off, and I looked at my numbers and I was like, you're not even winning anymore. You're not winning. You're not making money. I'm not making money. I'm not enjoying it. And I'm not sleeping. So I made my money and I got out. In terms of tournaments, I'll probably go to Vegas to play the World Series of Poker. Like there's a section of tournaments from like May through July, culminating in that main event that we've seen on TV and ESPN. But throughout that cycle, there's a bunch of smaller tournaments that I'll probably play. I can't play in the main event because I'll be away, but poker will always be in my life. I get calls to play in games which I know could be profitable for me, but I did it, man. Like when you turn your hobby and you make it a full-time job and you make it part of your life, I don't like it's not fun anymore. It's not something I like enjoy doing. So now it's just a risk reward analysis of like, do I want to spend 6 hours studying real estate or do I want to spend 6 hours playing poker?
That's tough. See,
And there lies that
it's
time.
tough.
I'm
It's
sorry,
What?
tough
Stephen. Go
seeing a
ahead.
hobby turn into a job like that. I started playing with my buddies in high school and really enjoyed it. And then in college, I remember sitting in my business management 101 class, and I couldn't believe the amount of parallels I was seeing from this business management textbook to the poker games that we're playing back home. Have you seen those parallels from poker to real estate investing? And has that helped you in your real estate investing at all?
Yeah, playing poker and day trading is cheating because I make analysis based on equity of decisions, right? Like it's not all or nothing. I'm very good at analyzing that. And even if I'm wrong, I'm not that wrong by a lot. And then I'm so used to losing, right? Like I lose in trading every day. I lose in real estate every day. And it's in the grand scheme of things, I know I'm going to win, right? Like if you keep making the right decisions, you're going to win. But when you take an L, I just don't feel it the way the average person feels it. I mean, we took probably an $8,000 loss on our, not a loss, but we made an $8,000 mistake on our first property. And my partner is like freaking out. And so I explained to him that like, okay, like the analysis is, what mistake did we make? Why did we make it? Like, did we make it with the good information at the time? Or was our information bad? Was our process bad? Fix the process so we don't make that mistake again and then move on. You can't get stuck in your losses mentally because the next hand's going to get played or the next deal's going to come your way. You can't get emotional with your decision making. So trading and poker really helped real estate investing.
Yes. The one thing that I've been thinking and saying for so many years, life is a game. Ultimately, when you're doing business, it's a poker hand every day. Are you dealing with a tenant challenge? A tenant says, okay, here's my move today. Here's how I'm challenging you. In my world, I'm like, okay, you're going to play me at what I've been doing for 25 years. So I have that certainty. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. So ultimately, we talk about this a lot where it is, okay, here's our poker hand. Let's not show our cards. Everything turns into a strategy. How are we going to handle this situation? And how are we going to win this hand? So I'm a lousy poker player.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why. I think I get distracted every hand, and that's not a good way to win that hand. But in real estate and dealing with those tenant challenges or certain challenges, as long as you have that strategy going in and you keep your cards to your vest, you have a great solution to win that hand. One other thing I learned about you is you're writing a book.
Yes.
So I know that you have a lot to write about. I don't know if it's going to be day trading, playing poker, real estate, but you had some other interesting thoughts on that book. Can you discuss that briefly?
Sure. That book is coming along very slowly. Once I started taking this course, I went from writing, 4 hours a week to 1 hour a week. So I'm writing a book to my 18-year-old self about how to think about investing and college. I've seen articles and books about drawing parallels to your like median income versus like what a degree can pay off, like what's the return on investment, but they're not enough. You need to explain to young people there is a direct parallel to how much you're paying for school and how much you're going to make and why. So a lot of the book is giving examples of what your life will look like if you go to X school, pay X amount of dollars to make X amount of money in some city. So you go to Penn State, you spend $40,000 a year, and you become a teacher in Philadelphia, right? Like, what does your life look like? How long does it take you to pay off your loan, right? And what's the quality of your life going to be? And the answer is, it's not good. It's usually bad. It's the reason people feel trapped. So I want to teach people how to think like an investor, but use college as the framework for that book. So I'm writing to like 12 to 17-year-old kids and their parents to teach them like that. I'm thinking of it like a rich dad type book. The other thing I'm teaching them is how to beat the system and how to there are ways that you can structure how you go to college to make it cheaper for you. Getting a job, an 8-hour job as a 14-year-old is a waste of time now. When you can take the SATs, when I went to Rutgers, right? If you got a 1,500 on the SATs, I think you got a full ride, right? That was $100,000 exam. A full ride is $100,000. Why are students working at an ice cream parlor when you have $100,000, gift at the end of a road? So just reframing people's mindsets. That's kind of where the book is at.
And I found that one interesting when you were outlining that. I was nodding my head, and then the one thing that really stopped me in my tracks a month ago was that fact where why would you teach that or have that 14-year-old kid mow the lawn where my old school mindset is, teaching work ethic, teaching someone to work hard, the value of making a buck. And then you were saying, geez, that is the opposite of what they should be teaching their kid. I found that very interesting.
Well, it's not the opposite. It's just that the framework was like, in the 60s and 70s was work hard, and then it started in the 80s like go to college and then get a job, right? But the cost of living was so much less expensive, and the cost to go to university was so less expensive that when you got out, you weren't trapped. Now, you work hard, you teach work ethic, then you go to school, you get more work ethic, then you come out and you got $120,000 in debt and you got a $50,000 a year job. All that does is trap people, and it stinks. So you can do it that way, but the answer is go to community college, spend the least amount of money, and then go to some school that is less expensive. You don't have to go to a major four university if you're going to if you want to be a social worker, if you want to be a teacher. And there's nothing wrong with these professions. I'm just using these as examples of people that I watch that have gotten trapped. Lawyers are trapped. If you go to law school, you're probably sunk cost in that job because you got $300,000 in debt or whatever it costs to go to law school with, plus your college. Another way to think about things is, you're 18 years old, going to out of state school might be, 30,000 a year, and going in state might be 22,000 a year. Well, 4 years of that is 32 grand. Wouldn't it make sense to move down for a year, establish yourself residency, get paid essentially $32,000 to do that, and then start the following year? It just
No, it's a great
reframe.
point. It's a great point, which I didn't think thoroughly through. That we're now in a day and age over the last 5 or 8 years where students have $100,000 plus or minus a student debt, and it's become such a major issue where people are looking to are basically saying, "I'm a victim. I went to college. I have $100,000 in debt, and now I want someone to pay for it." And that times change. That wasn't part of the discussion 15, 20 years ago. So no, I appreciate highlighting that. Chad, this is the collecting real estate show. So they say you have to have three of something to make a collection.
Okay.
So we've got three questions for you to finish up. What
Okay.
is your 1 year business goal or business goals?
For 1 year from today,
Sure.
it would be to get to that 50,000 a month in residual income.
Awesome. 2, 1 year personal goal.
Um, Personal goal. Well, I've been working out a lot, and I would say to continue that and to continue on the track that my personal trainer has set for me. I've been very diligent with it, and it's helped real estate too.
Awesome. Personal trainer. So you joined that mentorship group for multifamily, and you also have a personal trainer physically.
Got to take care of you got to take care of yourself in whatever way you can.
Love it. Love it. Love it. How can Steve and I or the listeners assist you? And how do we contact you?
You can get to me, my email, it's chadkastel@gmail.com, at Chad Kastel on Twitter. Chad Kastel Real Estate Investor is my Facebook page. Any of those mediums will do.
Awesome. No, I appreciate your time today,
Thanks, guys.
Chad. I'm looking forward to seeing your progress in your real estate investing in New York, reaching your goal so you can start scaling in that next location. Thanks again.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Chad.